Okay. Welcome to first off, the budget workshop for the Rockport Select Board. We're going to begin with the budget workshop to hear about what the Budget Committee had suggested in terms of changes to the draft budget that the board had put together. And immediately following that, we'll go into a select board meeting. So, Bill, do you want to walk us through what the Budget Committee did?
Yes, and they're very simple changes. In your material, you'll notice that there were two changes that the Budget Committee approved, and they were both at my recommendation. So if you recall, the Walker Park Seawall project, I had not had enough information about the low bidder to feel comfortable budgeting that amount, so I went with the second lowest bidder. And actually, the morning before the Budget Committee meeting, Darlene Dorsky got back to me and said that the low bidder had checked out very well with all the references and the projects they'd done. And so he had no reason not to recommend that we go with the low bidder. So that made a difference of $15,000 in the parks budget, line 7347. So that reduced that budget down to $100,390. The second change that was in tandem with this, that the Budget Committee put forward, was to reduce the use of undesignated fund balance in the same amount of $15,000. So the net budget basically remains the same, but that does reduce what we were using from undesignated fund balance from $30,000 to $15,000. So I think it obviously makes sense, and I'm pleased that we were able to do that. So.
Yep. Just 1 second. Jeff, can you hear Bill okay when he's talking, or are you using the live stream to do that?
Yes, I got him on my computer.
Okay, all right, thanks. So I should have mentioned that Jeff Hamilton is with us via live stream. We do expect Mark Kelly to be here.
He said he's on his way.
He's on his way. Okay. All right, does anybody have any questions about the suggested changes to the budget?
Well, it makes sense. I wonder about leaving that 15,000 in the parks budget and possibly using it along with the other donations we've had, leaving it in there to finish up Memorial Park when the construction's finished. That would probably take care of it.
It's certainly up to what the board, what you choose to do.
Yeah, I think that just to make sure that Jeff and Mark's not here, but I know that gets back to what the board, the majority of the board at least, had said previously, was that we would have to do Memorial Park via donations. And I think that would get some of the board members a little concerned about adding to the library commitment, the overall library commitment. But I don't want to speak for Jeff or Mark, who's on his way.
Hello, Jeff?
Jeff? Rockport to Jeff.
There's probably a time delay or.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to see the 15,000 stay as a savings.
Well, let's wait till Mark gets here and go.
Hang in there.
Unless,
Back.
how do you
Okay.
feel about it?
Well, I'm torn. I like, it'll be nice to have money for Memorial Park. I guess I feel like that's something we already decided, 15,000. If we thought that was something that mattered, we could have already put it in the parks budget, and we didn't. So I feel like we're sort of now it would be like a second bite at the apple, because now the Walker Park seawall is saving us 15,000, and I'm not sure.
I mean, we did
Procedurally, it seems a little.
Yeah, we did discuss it at the Budget Committee meeting, and we reiterated the point of view that needs to be done through donations. And
All right, well, the sense of the board then is to not do that and put it back into savings, so, okay.
You're okay?
Yep.
All right, so Bill, help me out procedurally here, because, just, let me know what the next step is.
Sure, so the board needs to take your consensus votes basically on the budget, and so included behind that information is the draft town meeting warrant.
Yep,
And starting on page 5, Article 20 is where, or, sorry, Article 19 kind of starts on page 4, and then the number, no, I'm sorry. Article 17 starts the budget on page 4. And so you'll see the numbers by area, such as general government, numbers 1,498,594 for expenses. So those are the numbers that you would take a recommendation on,
yep. Article by article,
article by article, and there's not very many of them,
okay,
a little bit more than a handful. And this was drafted without the budget committee changes in it, so I can give you the new numbers,
yeah,
assuming that
so
the
tell
board.
us which article it is and what the new numbers are.
Yep, so Article 21,
Yep,
the new number would be 788,462.
788, 462,
Yes, and in that line C, parks would be 100,390.
100,390,
Yes. And then the other article that would be different would be Article 25, which is the revenue. And so line G, unassigned fund balance, instead of being 30,000, would be 15,000.
okay,
And then the total would be $2,237,047.
okay. So, hi, Mark. Jeff's on the phone, on my cell phone. We're on live stream. We covered the recommendations of the Budget Committee,
Yes.
which I know you read in there. One member of the board had raised the possibility that instead of reducing the UFB by $15,000, that we put that toward the Memorial Park. Some of the others of us spoke up and said that that really wasn't in keeping with what the board has said before, which is that Memorial Park has to be done through donations. And so was the sense of the board and moving forward with that, which is consistent with decisions we made previously on that. With me?
Just-
Taking it in.
Just pondering. I mean, I do think that's an opportunity because we don't know yet what the cost is going to be for Memorial Park to be brought back to something that's respectful for what it is. And however long it may take to raise that money, we don't know. So is that something we're willing to let go for a year or two? Because remember, people have already been tapped quite a bit. And I realize that there's been 10,000 donated towards, specifically for the park, for plantings and such, if I recall
That's correct.
that meeting. So, you know, at what point are we going to roll the dice again and hope that people are going to be helpful in helping us raise that money? I mean, and I don't know, and I don't even know what the total would be for the retrofit
Right, we
of the
haven't,
park. So we don't know that.
yeah.
And I believe that 15 in my little pea brain would have certainly gone to help with 10,000 to make it something rather than relying on something we don't know yet. But now I'll be quiet.
No, those are good thoughts. I mean, that's an
I-
important part
you know,
for
I
the
mean-
town in terms of, I guess I was concerned that people would feel like we're
I
going
mean,
back on a commitment to
I mean,
not
I-
spend more for the
I would
library.
I'd be happy not to take anything out of UFB,
Yeah,
but that's, you know, at some point we've done well to get where we are and still get things done. But that's just, again, I'm going back to quiet for the moment.
Doug, what do we have in mind for that park in terms of, I mean, we have some trees, a path.
Well, the, yeah, we're, at our next Parks meeting supposedly, we're supposed to look over the landscape plan for the park. Tonight, we're gonna go over the library side of things. But basically, the sidewalks, the paths, that will all be covered, in the intersection part of it. So really, what just needs to be done is several gardens need to be created around the various monuments and planted, which is, again, that's all pretty low-key volunteerism, donations from nurseries.
Yeah. And I think the garden club would definitely help with
In the
that.
garden club, and there's basically 5 large trees, but those costs will be covered by the $10,000 donation.
Yeah.
So, you know, really the only thing would be, I think there are a couple of light poles over there.
What about the lawn
And that's,
seating?
well, the
Yeah, and then we
seating
need
is gonna
lawn.
be done,
And
you know,
is
that
that-
has to be done by FI as part of their contract when it's over.
And the library?
Memorial Park,
And Memorial Park.
Memorial Park, yeah, they
I
have
guess,
to
because they
restore
used it
that.
as their,
As-
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, between the Public Works Department, volunteers, and donations, you know, we're gonna probably, and the donation of the $10,000, we're gonna
Yeah.
probably be about 85% of the way there. So,
So
you
we
know,
might not,
I can live without putting that 15,000
like
there.
we
It'd be
might not even
nice, we
need
could
that.
really nail it down, it would
Yeah.
be turnkey, you know, it'd be nice when it was finished, but, you know, it's not gonna be a huge,
You know,
huge leap.
on another, I mean, with things going the way they are with crude oil and petroleum products, I mean, I'm guessing that we may end up better off with our bids for road paving this summer. And whether we take any excess that might come and continue to pave more roads that might be there, however many extra tons that might buy us, or utilize that extra towards the park. I mean, that way we're not tapping into the 15 that's been found by virtue of the bidding process for Walker Park. But I think we probably could be creative somewhere.
Well,
without
the
taking
flip
it-
side of that is, and again, I'm an advocate, but I'm actually worried about what our excise taxes are gonna do.
Well, there's that too.
You know, I think we're gonna have to look at that number tonight and probably revise it downwards. I don't know if Bill is gonna have a suggestion for us or not, but, you know.
Yeah,
pretty-
because people are on, they don't have, they can hold their temporary plates now for,
Well, they can hold
through
temporary
July.
plates, people won't be buying new cars for a
Right.
while, so.
Just a couple of comments. In the parks budget, line 5310, our agriculture and botanical, if you remember, we increased that line from 2,000 to 5,300 to help cover some of the costs of those trees for Memorial Park. So we do have some extra funding in there that can be used towards Memorial Park already built in. So I think that that will be very beneficial to help out there.
Let me get my oar in the water if I could.
go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I would offer that we do all we can to reduce expenses and cut costs out of this budget at this point in time, where there are too many unknowns currently. The concern is the revenue side may not be where we had hoped it would be, and we should just be overly frugal.
Okay, thanks. Do you have some thoughts, Bill, about the excise tax point that Doug raised?
I don't at this point. We haven't put together our quarterlies,
Yeah.
quarterly financial reports yet. And the point that Denise has made about the fact that registrations are extended essentially for 30 days until after the civil emergency is lifted, then we're not gonna be able to see that impact at all
Right.
in time for us to make a
to make a budget
to make a
adjustment.
budget adjustment. However, keeping in mind that we're still in this fiscal year until the end of June,
Right.
people will still have to register those vehicles whenever this ends, and that will be most likely it's gonna be during the next fiscal year. So we're still gonna collect that excise tax, it just might be delayed when we receive it. So we'll still, if your car expires in May, you may wait until August to register it, so it would hurt this fiscal year more than I think it will hurt next fiscal year. And I've been talking with managers, pretty much throughout the state, trying to get an eye on, what are we doing for revenues? We haven't done this before.
No.
So, the best guess that I have at this point is that the effect is really gonna be seen in this fiscal year versus
Yeah.
next.
Yeah, it's a good point that it shoves a lot into the next fiscal year.
It does, it just pushes it forward. I've seen car dealerships that are offering 0% financing for 84 months on vehicles. So,
Years.
when you see things like that, and it's not gonna end next week.
Right.
That's gonna continue on, for who knows how long. So, just in the short time that it's only been less than a week since the legislation passed, but, we've had people registering new cars, or cars that they've purchased. So it's really an unknown. I
So
wish-
business is continuing sort of on your end.
It is, at this point, tax payments are coming in. I really think the impact will be in this fiscal year for the excise tax versus next year.
A lot of what's there, though, people still have to register your vehicles at some point in time.
Right,
After this is passed.
right.
So you're still gonna have, for the remainder of the months that are not in our analysis now, you're still gonna have a certain portion of that, because some of them are gonna be a year older and they'll pay a little less.
Of course.
But when we factored in that what we currently had to date, plus just taking the numbers from last year, took us to 103. So I think we're still gonna be, even if you back out each of those next few months, backing them out 20% or whatever the next level down, I think we're gonna still meet this year's target. But,
Yeah,
Next.
probably. And then again, looking at what we were on pace for, the 903,000 something roughly, and had increased it, the board had increased it to 885 for a projection coming in for next year. So we do have some wiggle room there, which is a good thing.
Right, which we felt was still pretty conservative.
yeah, because it was 103 and,
903.
903.
Yeah,
And we backed it down a bit.
yeah, 885 is the
Yeah.
number that was budgeted.
Where's Ken when you need him?
I don't think you'd have a scenario for this one.
No,
So that's
no,
the
but it would be
thing.
interesting.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know if we could, Jeff, were you suggesting that we go back and look at every item in the budget to make sure we're being as cautious as possible? Or do we just know that the town will operate as efficiently as possible under these new circumstances?
For the purposes of this exercise, I just offer that we be thankful we found the $15,000 and recognize it as a savings.
Okay,
Or we just don't budget its expense at this point in time.
okay.
Yeah. Okay, anything else? Are we good to start making some motions? Okay, so we start with Article 17. And the motion is just to approve warrant Article 17 in the amount of XYZ. Is that the format, Bill?
Yes, to recommend for general government expenditures, 1,498,594. Yep.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, in the past, we've sort of.
We put a number in.
we've
No,
read
yeah.
Everything, but we're not doing
Says
that.
we don't need to do that.
There's no need for you to do that.
I'm not
Yeah.
saying,
We
okay.
would want to do it, I think, when we get to those two items where the subtotals were different,
Okay.
yeah,
that he
where the
identified,
changes were, yes.
but only those.
Okay, so
Okay. I'll start.
Okay, good.
So I move that we recommend approval of the Article 17 for general government expenditures in the amount of $1,498,594.
Second.
I'll second.
Jeff seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? All in favor here, and Jeff,
Aye.
was that all right, Bill, in terms of the
Yes.
formatting? Okay. Somebody else want to take Article 18?
Yeah, let me find it.
I move that we recommend approval of Article 18 for expenditure for public assistance in the amount of $26,990.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Jeff? Jeff? Take us off of mute.
Aye, yes.
Okay, Article 19?
I move that we recommend Article 19, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the following for public safety for 2021 fiscal year in the amount of $1,790,000. $1,790,009.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Jeff?
Aye.
Okay, Article 20?
I move the town raise and appropriate the following for public works for the fiscal year 2020 and 2021, $1,907,503.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so let me try this one. I recommend that we raise and appropriate the following, the designated amounts for culture and recreation for the 2020-2021 fiscal year with the change for parks from $115,390 to $100,390 for a total expenditure of $788,462.
Second.
Discussion? In favor?
Aye. I'll take 22.
Okay,
Article 22, I move that the board approve Article 22 to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the following for long-term debt payments for the 2021 fiscal year for the total amount, for debt being $284,606, for the total being for $284,606.
Second.
discussion? All in favor? Jeff?
Aye.
Yep.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, Article 23?
I move that we recommend Article 23 to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the following for county fees for the 2021 fiscal year in the amount of $110,018.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And I'll recommend that the select board approve Article 24 to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the following for cemeteries and special assessments for the 2020-2021 fiscal year in the total amount of $70,325.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I move the town vote to raise the appropriate, I move the town select board approve to raise and appropriate the following as revenue from the following sources to be used in reducing the property tax assessment for the 2020-2021 fiscal year in the amount of $2,252,000
We do
We
have a
need to
change
amend
that.
that
Gotta
one.
give you a new number.
Can you withdraw that motion?
I most certainly would.
Okay, let me try this. I move that we recommend, that the, select board, vote to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the following, as revenue from the sources indicated, in our agenda item for the, reducing the property tax assessment for the year 2020-2021 fiscal year as designated here with the exception of G, unassigned fund balance being reduced from 30,000 to 15,000 for a total of $2,237,047.
Second, how could I forget that one?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, Mark, you weren't here for that one. so-
No, but saving money, dropping it to 15.
There you
I
go.
missed it.
Yeah, Article 26.
So those are the budget items.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
yep,
and that's really, and I should have said we probably should have waited until the actual select board meeting. However, what you can do in the select board meeting is just ratify the votes that you've done on the budget.
okay.
That'll be fine.
That's right.
You know, I thought about that, but then I was thinking because it was consensus votes that made a difference, but not really.
I mean,
yeah,
you're gonna
okay.
you're gonna approve the warrant at a later date anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
that's really not a big deal.
Okay.
But you can just, when we get to the action item for the
Okay.
act on approval of budget, you can just ratify the votes that were taken in the workshop,
Okay,
and that'll be fine.
okay. All right, is there anything else in the workshop then?
Wait 30 minutes before I
I guess well, we could touch base, either I can mention it here or in the manager's report and have the discussion about the town meeting, dates. I don't know what you'd prefer, to talk about it now or later in the actual meeting.
Why don't we do it in the town in the, actual board meeting?
Okay.
Okay, so if that's it, then we'll adjourn the, workshop and go into the regular meeting. It is 5:57, and I call to order the meeting of the select board, for this date, March 23rd, 2020.
5 to 6, Deborah.
At 5 minutes to 6.
Oh, okay, I had 5:57 or
The-
whatever I
the
said it
post-
was.
The posting, Jeff, indicates that after the workshop, immediately after the workshop, we will go into the select board meeting.
Right,
Right.
right, so I designated the time that we were doing that. So, we're going directly into the select board, as I said, called the meeting to order, we're all here. The first item on the, agenda is the town manager's report.
Sorry, trying to look at my text messages and
That's all right.
balancing if there's any comments from anybody. Just to note that Megan Brackett was going to be calling into the conference line as well. I did have her available by phone. She is working at home this week because she has a child that's ill. Not with the coronavirus, but
Good.
just ill and has to be free of a fever for 72 hours. So she'll be working at home, but she was available, so thank you, Megan. I know you're listening, so we are basically all set with the budget issues anyway. As you can imagine, going into my town manager's report, and as you all know, it's been a strange last couple of weeks, dealing with COVID-19 and the response necessary. And I'll just read through this for, for people that are listening, and really all my report is about the COVID-19 response. And this is the latest update that I have. As of March 18th, at 1 o'clock, we closed the town office to the public. The staff at the town office are working regular hours, 8 to 5 p.m., and we are processing transactions over the phone, by email, and mail. We've asked citizens to call the town office first to assist them with their question or transaction, and we are also arranging appointments for any transaction that requires face-to-face business. The code enforcement officer is still performing the necessary building or plumbing permits and inspections and utilizing personal protective equipment as needed during those inspections. The state of Maine has extended all vehicle registrations for 30 days after the current civil emergency ends, including temporary plates. That's trailers, ATVs, that's everything. All other town buildings, public safety building, public works garage, opera house, harbor building, and library are also closed to the public until further notice. All employees continue to work, and each department can be contacted by telephone or email. I will say that we have divided the public works crew in half, with the appropriate personnel on each crew, so that we don't infect the entire crew should we have a March snowstorm like tonight and tomorrow. And we're sanitizing in between shifts, all things that are touched, building, doorknobs, handles, restrooms, tabletops, countertops, you name it, shovel handles, rake handles, you name it, we're doing all of that as much as we possibly can. So we have 2 different shifts that are working completely different hours with a break in between so they don't cross over. In anticipation of tonight's storm, tonight and tomorrow's storm, we've set up a separate break room area in the Public Works garage so that half the crew will be in a temporary break room, if you will, where they can grab something to eat during the storm or rest for a minute. So we have done that as well today. So as we continue on, we're kind of just dealing with each situation as it goes along. But we felt it was important to divide that crew into half so that we wouldn't have a whole crew potentially be missing, and still be able to keep the roads plowed and safe. Persons seeking general assistance are directed to call the town office, 236-0806, and the town will process applications as needed. Select board meetings and other essential or required meetings will be held and announced as usual through the town's website and media. These meetings can now be attended by remote methods by board members, and residents can watch the meetings via live stream from the links on the town's website. Residents are asked to email the town manager any comments or questions on meeting topics at wpost@rockportmaine.gov. And residents can also provide questions or comments through the live stream of the meetings, and I do have my computer set up, so I'm logged in so I can see if there's any comments that I'll read, and we can deal with those as we need to. All non-essential board and committee meetings are canceled until further notice. This also does include the planning board that was supposed to have had a public hearing this week on the ordinance review committee's land use ordinance amendments. The state-approved emergency legislation allows the remote meetings to occur, but votes must be accomplished by roll call. In addition, the legislation allows for the select board to change the annual town meeting date. It is anticipated this will likely happen so that the proper processes can be followed for public hearings and allow for public attendance at hearings and the meeting itself. The emergency legislation also allows for the next budget year to begin with the current budget year expenditures, starting July 1st if necessary. So the legislation did most of what we had hoped that it would do, which is essentially allowing us to move the town meeting date so that the town can have public input on ordinance review committee changes, as well as the 2 petitioned articles that we have that do meet the number of required signatures for the land use ordinance amendments. So we are allowed to move that town meeting date, and I would recommend that we do that. At this point, I would simply say that it just needs to be postponed, if you will, without a rescheduled date, because we don't know what the situation will entail moving forward.
Will we need a
We need a-
motion to do that?
We haven't
Just a
posted.
consensus,
We haven't
or-
posted the warrant, so we don't technically need, I mean, it wouldn't hurt to have a motion, I'm sure, to say that. The charter, as you know, directs the town meeting to be held on the 2nd Tuesday of June. But the legislation was written such that it's notwithstanding any charter, so it does supersede the charter in that case. It certainly wouldn't hurt to postpone, to have an official vote to postpone the town meeting to a date to be
I
determined.
can do that if you wish.
I think we wait till we get to the action items, okay?
Yeah. Any other questions about that before? I do have a couple of other items that I've added to the report since I've written it.
No.
Okay. I do want to note, too, that there's been a lot of questions around postponing the tax due date, the property tax due date, which is April 15th or 16th, whatever day it falls on, because of the weekends and holidays. The legislation did not address that, so we're tied to the town meeting vote, which was the April, again, 15th or 16th date, whatever that was, with interest starting to accrue the next day. However, in talking with council, he said that a way around that would simply be to the board having a motion to delay that due date, if you so wish, and the interest date, and then having an article on the town meeting warrant essentially to ratify that decision, so that the legislative body at town meeting could ratify that decision at town meeting. Putting a little risk out there by doing that. Because,
Don't we need the money?
well,
I mean, can,
we always need, we
well,
always
but
need
I
the
mean,
money.
I'd understood
Yes.
that, you know, we're sort of like waiting for
Yes.
April 15th
We
to
always
get
are.
that money in.
Yes, which is another reason why we want to increase the undesignated fund balance, so that we're not in that situation. But that is a concern, yes, our cash flow would be hampered when it comes to not having that money coming in. And as I said, payments have been coming in. The mortgage holders generally send their payments in. They've already been sending those in now, so.
Yeah. Do we have a way to deal with case-by-case concerns? Can we waive interest later if,
Not really.
okay,
There is no
I think
way
the-
to do that on a
The
case-by-case
interest rate
basis.
was set at the town meeting too, I believe.
It was, it was.
yeah, I mean, because of course, many people can still afford it, but I'm certainly want to be sympathetic to people who are in a bind.
Right.
But if you extend the date, then a lot of people won't pay, even those who could pay. It's a tricky,
That's correct. And that's the concern, is the cash flow.
yeah.
You know, if we don't have the cash flow to be able to pay the bills, then we have
Right,
an
and to
issue.
pay our employees, and it's sort of a vicious circle if we.
Yeah.
It-
Keeping
speaking-
in mind, and Mark knows as well as anyone, I mean, the school payment alone is a hefty payment every month.
Yes, it is.
So,
Yeah, and we can't not pay that. I mean,
Right.
So, in anticipation of a hiccup that may or may not come, have you yet indicated to the department heads that all spending for anything that might have already been budgeted for not?
we're keeping things as close as we can. Obviously, we've had some unintended spending with this response to this pandemic. Not that that's a huge amount of money at this point, but
And you're keeping track of it
yes,
for reimbursement.
yes, we are.
And we're still at, percentage-wise, we're still at or near the 75% mark for 9 months?
Yes.
You know, as serious as this all is, I still think it's important that we keep the money flowing, both coming in and going out, just to kind of keep the wheels of our economy and society moving. So, you know, I get some people may be strapped, and if they approach us, you know, that'll be fine. But I think we ought to just try to continue our finances going ahead as planned.
Yeah, well, we have been, let me just say this, that I have been approached by certain businesses that have indicated that they're strapped, I mean, like, really strapped, like bankruptcy strapped. So, my heart goes out to them, and I'm concerned about that, but as you say, we need to be able to pay the town's obligations too. If, to Denise's point, if there was a way for us to be able to make, a case-by-case determination of some sort, then it would be great to be able to do that, but you're saying that that's really not gonna be possible?
The only way that you can, and again, it depends on, we obviously know the federal government is looking at a stimulus package, and we don't know what that looks like at this point, because they
Right.
continue to get in their own way, but, there's always the poverty abatement issue, if we gets to that point, that can be applied for by residents. And again, I think, not knowing what packages are coming from the federal government or the state government, I think the best thing for us to do is to try to continue on as we are and pay our bills,
Yeah,
and do that, and then.
yeah, pay our vendors, I mean, that
Right.
will,
And then hopefully there's some sort of help from the federal government and/or the state government for these
Yeah.
people that, and keeping in mind, we're not we're not in danger of foreclosing on any properties for that second half. I mean, the lien process doesn't start until later on. And then, depending on what happens again with legislation, maybe there'll be an out there.
Yeah.
And we,
Okay.
you know, we certainly will continue watching the situation.
Did you have anything else, Bill, or is that it?
Couple other things to add to the report. Some good news. The town of Rockport has received the Government Finance Officers Association's Distinguished Budget Presentation Award again. This is the third year that the town has received that, and that's for the current year's budget document. Just to keep in mind that when that is reviewed, the budget document is reviewed, they use 56 different criteria in 4 different categories, and each of those has to be proficient in every one of those categories or higher. So kudos again to Megan and Molly in the finance department for putting together that document and winning that
Yeah.
award again.
Absolutely.
So it's a lot of hard work, and
How
should
many
be-
years in a row is that now?
That's 3,
3, I thought, so.
which is pretty fantastic.
Yep.
And it also shows that they're not just resting on their laurels, and they're continuing it, so that's a good
Yep.
thing. And she's always continuing to try to improve that and add more information. The administrative assistant for the police department, Craig Cooley, had resigned back on March 10th. In the process, we had posted the shared position internally, the shared admin assistant position with planning and codes, assessing, and PD. And after a thorough vetting, Mandy Mariner Everett has been hired full-time for that shared position. That was effective last Friday.
Great.
So, as I said, we haven't done this obviously here before, and we'll see how it works, and hopefully it'll work well. If it doesn't, we'll just have to figure something else out, but hopefully it'll work well.
So the idea, just for anybody watching, is that there will be coverage for the police department, for example, all through the work week, either at the police department or through the town office.
Yes, that's correct, and once she gets trained and up to speed on the law enforcement side of the equation, and once we get back to normal operations, then she'll have some time at the police department. She does now. We're still working on a schedule of days and that sort of thing. But she will be available at the town office when she's not at the police station, so that she can come over, residents can come over and have her help them on whatever it is at that point as well. So
And-
it should be beneficial.
And there will be some recognition, I'm guessing, for a 20-plus year full-time employee.
I understand that the police department is, yes.
Okay, well,
Yep.
I'm talking about the town, not the police
Yeah,
department.
they'll be in conjunction with the police department.
Thank you.
Yep. That's that for that report.
I don't know, Bill, if you can answer this question, maybe Jeff can too. Can someone remind me what the scope of the work with the harbor grant that we've received is? Because I've seen some survey stakes
Yes.
out there now, and frankly, I just couldn't remember what the plan is.
Well, it's kind of cast a big net.
Yeah.
That's what that grant did, and that had been received before I came on board, so I'll summarize as best that I can. But essentially, it's engineering work that's looking at several different areas in the park, including potentially dredging the Goose River, the mouth there, as well as shoring up the seawall, looking at the potential for parking on that hill is one of the aspects of that grant.
On the hill over by the,
Above the commercial fishermen's area, up towards Main Street. Town pier engineering as well, so we can get that project moving along. And looking at the pilings to see which pilings need to be replaced.
Okay. What would the typical process be? Is the engineering work will be done and there'll be some sort of a final engineering report that gets presented to us?
Yes,
Okay. And the money, though, is just for this preparatory
Yes.
engineering part?
yes, and the plan when it comes to this type of grant is that it pays for the engineering work and plans,
Yeah.
And then it sets us up to apply for action grants, if you will. So money to be able to implement
Spam.
the work.
Okay,
So that's the plan.
all right.
Excuse me.
And time frame?
Well, as you saw, they've started working
Yeah.
now, so I would think within,
Couple of months?
yeah, a couple of months, they should be complete. I don't remember the exact time frame in the proposal that was accepted.
Okay.
But it shouldn't take a long length of time.
And Gartley Dorsey's doing the engineering?
They are.
Okay.
Yep. Bill Lane is the
Yeah.
engineer on that project.
So sorry with the beeps. I got Jeff on my phone here, and then I was getting 2 spam calls in a row on here, even though the ringer is off. So why I got the beeps, I don't know. But in any event, I just wanted to make sure that we highlighted and people, because that was a nice summary, but people really picked up on the fact that one of the things that's covered by that grant is the exploration of additional parking above that area above where the fishermen, the
Yes.
commercial fishermen are. So
Yes.
that's one of the several things that the town is looking into in terms of increasing parking space for the village.
Yes.
Okay, anything else for questions of Bill?
Quick question on your general report, and this sort of came up a couple of years ago. I wonder if there's, instead of just sort of reading into the record your report, which is already online in the newspapers, blah, 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 is there a way we can make this more efficient and just as informative rather than going through it? I don't
It
know
was
how
brought-
You've done it before.
It was,
So,
Yeah.
if
ahead,
I
Jeff.
could weigh in,
Go ahead.
yeah, I do appreciate Bill running through these items because in addition to what's written in the report itself, he adds additional perspective on certain items and issues, and I find it very helpful to do so.
Well, I get that, Jeff, but what I'm saying is, do we need to read the report, or can he just sort of ad lib it as he looks over the report and add to various things?
Well, I think he does add limits.
I do most of the time, except for this one with all
Yeah.
the COVID-19 response. But
Yeah.
usually I do try to just hit the highlights for people that don't necessarily see it online or,
Yeah.
I do generally add items that have come up since I've written the report as well,
Yeah.
because it's usually been at least, 5 or 6 days.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, I just brought it up.
No, I get it. I think it's more shorter and concise now than maybe. I mean, I think there's just. I think.
Oh, it is.
I
I'm
think
not
you're doing a good
complaining
job.
about the
Yeah.
content or anything else. But again, to just, the past 2 weeks have been challenging for everyone. I'd like something, a little bit more interactive, and
Okay.
Punch
Well.
up the narrative a little more.
Well.
that's
can't-
just my,
Bill
obviously.
heard your comments, so.
heard your comments.
anyway.
I'm not gonna do a dance or anything to go with it, so.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
Okay. Did anybody else have anything about Bill's report? Questions? Okay. The next item on the agenda is kind of difficult. It's public input on non-agenda items. Have we gotten anything over the live stream that would be in that category?
I don't have any comments on the live stream, and I
Okay.
don't have any comments in email at this point.
And of course, does anybody in the room or Jeff have anything in terms of public input on non-agenda items? Because we've sometimes used this ourselves.
I don't,
I do not.
I don't, nor have I gotten any text messages about anything.
Okay. Okay, so we'll move on to amendments to the agenda. If I've been keeping track here, and I would suggest the following amendments to the agenda. One is to, that we add under action items, ratifying the votes taken for the budget in the workshop, number one. Number two would be to postpone, again, under action items, postpone, do a motion, consider a motion to postpone the secret ballot and town meeting. And the third one is my suggestion, which is to remove from the consent agenda the ORC bylaws, just because I think there needs to be a tweak there.
And would they go back to the ORC, or can the tweak be
No,
done
I think the
under
tweak can be
action
done by
items?
us.
Okay,
It's required by law, so it's,
Yep.
they don't have an option. So. Bill, has your practice been, I've been meaning to ask you this, in the past, that we need to have a vote and a second on amendments to the agenda or not?
You should have.
Okay, all right, so somebody want to do a motion?
I move we amend the agenda along the lines of what Chair Hall just proposed.
Second.
Okay, discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Jeff. Okay, thank you. All right, so the first item, let's see, okay, so we're removing the committee the ORC to the, off of the consent agenda item, so that leaves us with, quitclaim deeds and the resignation, of Owen Casas from the Midcoast Solid Waste.
I move we
Corporation
approve
Board.
the consent agenda with the exception of Committee Bylaws Ordinance Review Committee.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Okay, so I propose that we just take these three items just to get them out of the way and we don't forget them. The first one would be a motion to ratify the votes on the budget taken during the workshop.
I move that we ratify the votes we took at the budget workshop.
Second.
Discussion?
Well, speaking of discussion, we didn't, what did you just say? Because we didn't make any motions, we just,
Didn't we?
Yeah, we did, on each
on the
article.
workshop, we did.
Yeah, we did.
Each of those.
That's why we're ratifying
Yep,
them.
good.
Okay. All in favor? Jeff?
Aye.
Okay. All right, second, of the amendments is, to consider a motion to postpone the secret ballot and town meeting from June to an undesignated date.
Second.
I guess that was a first and a second. Okay, any discussion?
Yeah, I wonder if Mark and I can vote on this, because obviously by doing that, it keeps us in office longer than our term, and if you carried it out to absurdity.
Well, there is an answer to that.
There is a couple of answers, I guess. First of all, there is a date in legislation that you have to have the annual town meeting by, which I think is January 2021. And then the second is that in the charter, it says that all officers are to stay in office until their successor is elected. So,
If you postpone it,
Yeah.
but
And what you're saying, Doug, is there some appearance of impropriety if you're making a motion that extends your term?
yeah, I mean, I'm voting to stay in office till September or
Right.
October, depending how long this goes on
Have you
for.
turned your papers in yet? That's an option for you. I mean, I haven't,
Yeah.
so,
Well, I just
Well,
want to bring
so-
it up because,
So it's true, you haven't turned your papers in, so you're not even technically running again yet.
yeah, no.
Well, if it ends up being unanimous, then it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter because there's three of us, if it's unanimous. Jeff, did you have a comment?
Well, I just think that the motion should also include extending the workshops and the public meetings associated with.
I think that's done by law, isn't it? Or, okay, so we can,
So everything we need to do to get ready for the town meeting.
yeah, okay. Okay, amend the motion. I amend the motion to postpone the secret ballot and town meeting and all the associated public hearings or committees that are necessary thereto, to a date uncertain.
Second. Yeah, I was going through my head with second.
Okay, you okay, Jeff?
Yes, yes.
All right, so, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
So people didn't think we needed to abstain, okay.
I think you should vote.
No, and if you did, it doesn't matter because it would have still been 3
And
in favor.
it would have happened anyway. We'd have still been here if things got postponed, so.
Okay, the third thing was they removed the ORC, from the consent agenda, and the reason there is that, on page 1, under the last paragraph on membership, it says that committee members may attend meetings in person or by conference call. So that, of course, raised my concern but it doesn't count toward quorum or voting. So then by the time I got over to the second page, under section 6, it does say a quorum shall consist of a majority, and then any action by the committee shall require the affirmative votes of the majority, but it doesn't refer to it does say in the first sentence, physically present. So it does make the point about the quorum. It doesn't make the point about no voting unless you're physically present. So, I think I had drafted a sentence that we could include, but then I noted that if you just flip on over to the action items under A, you'll see the Parks Committee has
Yeah.
already done a similar thing. So if, for consistency purposes, we just wanted to make these consistent, we could look at section 5 of the Parks Committee bylaws. The second paragraph says members, and there's a change I would make there for you, Mark, and say, but you haven't gotten there yet, but for the Parks Committee. But anyway, the point is, members may participate in a meeting by electronic means, but not vote or be considered part of the quorum unless physically present.
In that, oops, sorry.
And I know there's the alternate thing that you want to get to, but that's when we talk about the
Yep.
parks, okay?
Perfect.
So, so anyway,
We could put that in.
so I would propose that we could just lift that sentence as it is, put it under section 6 as a second paragraph, right? Second paragraph under section 6 of the ORC bylaws. And then you could, so that you're not being duplicative, just under membership, the third paragraph, take out the first sentence. It says committee members may attend meetings in person or by conference call. You could just take it out, because
It's
the
addressed
other
here.
parks one starts with if a member fails kind
Yeah.
of language. So you
Then would
have it
you,
all under quorum, voting, and conflict of interest.
Would you edit the first sentence under section 6 that would just say a quorum shall consist of a majority of the committee?
Yeah, you could take out the physically there. And then, because that whole sentence deals with the physicality versus the
Exactly.
remoteness
It covers it
of
all
the
for both
participation, right?
quorums and participation, yep.
So, Bill, just to reiterate, you would take out the, section 3, the third paragraph, take out the first sentence. Section 6, first sentence, take out the word physically. Oh, and there is a typo, second line, members at a meeting, put a in front of meeting. And then add a second paragraph to section 6, which would be the same one that is the second paragraph under section 5 for parks. Members may participate in a meeting by electronic means, but not vote or be considered part of the quorum unless physically present. Is that good?
Okay.
So moved.
Right. Is that a second, Mark?
Oh, yeah, second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Designated seconder.
All right, all in favor? Jeff?
Aye.
Okay. All right, so then that puts us back on track with the agenda on action items. The first one being act on Rockport Parks and Beautification Committee bylaws.
I had,
Sign those quick claims?
I've got them.
Oh.
I've got them here, yeah. I had brought up a couple of questions on that Deb started to allude to, but we know committee members can vote, and my question was, under number 2, and it says committee members shall consist up to 9 people, I got that. 5 alternatives, I got that. Should it say 5 alternative voting members when present and necessary? Because you don't want 14 people voting when, I mean, if they're there, but only if
Yep.
needed.
Yeah, something along
Isn't
that.
the definition of an alternative member a non-voting member?
I believe so, but I couldn't put my hand on it.
But you could put a sentence in that says alternate members shall vote as regular members.
Well, and that goes to number 5, where you would insert, listed as an alternative may vote in the absence of a quorum or full committee, in absence of a quorum of full committee members.
So can I offer in section 5, that second paragraph that we've been talking about, I was thinking that we put members, comma, including alternates, may participate in a meeting by electronic means but not vote or be considered part of the quorum unless physically present. That gets to one of your questions, but not to the second.
Unless physically present or necessary.
But you can't have 14 people voting.
Not, right, not if your current bylaws say you have 9 people.
Right.
They can only vote if necessary and there.
Yeah, my only question here is that we have alternates in some of our other committees, right? And we haven't done that with respect to those alternates. I mean, we know, I guess we just kind of know that you don't have any alternates voting unless there's a member
Which
absent.
That's fine, I
you
was
know.
just bringing it up as a.
Yeah, no, it's a good point, though. My only point is that if we're going to do it, we should do it for all committees. And of course, we just got all these committee bylaws
Yeah,
approved, so maybe,
I know.
unless we have a problem, maybe we should just.
Well,
Yeah, and does the charter address
Okay,
alternates?
Jeff wants to say something. Go ahead.
real quick, I mean, this might be the point, because we know that bylaws are going to be approved again and over time and come to us for different approvals. We're in the process of editing this one. It might be a good time to clarify that point for this particular committee at this point in time. And you changed section 2 where it says membership to the committee shall consist of 9 voting members, period. In addition, there will be 5 alternates.
But that has to say something more, 5 alternates, because it says an up to 5 alternates, right? So the committee should consist of 9 members, and up to 5 alternates.
But then in section 5, put your criteria around when alternates vote.
Just that it may vote in the absence of a quorum of the committee members.
Do you have access to the Harbor Committee bylaws?
Section 2 covers membership. Leave it at membership. Section 5 talks about voting. Include the criteria for voting in that section.
Well, I guess before we launch into editing these, I mean, because the Harbor Committee I know has alternates.
Yeah,
And whether the charter addresses what we do with alternate, I feel like
The charter doesn't address anything
it
with
doesn't
alternates.
say anything about that.
No. But I think it does make sense to have some language that says when alternates get to vote.
Right, but I'm wondering if it already says that somewhere, because this isn't new.
yeah, and it would be inconsistent. This one would be inconsistent with the bylaws that we've
That's what I
already
would start to
done.
worry about if we start one-offing that issue, because I don't know. I mean, I just don't have other bylaws here with me, but.
Yeah, one of the critical things during our discussion here tonight is our committee really needs this change passed, so
Good
we can
point. Yeah.
conduct business going forward,
So
so.
let's get it to
And
whatever.
I'm okay leaving it the way it is. I just wanted to make sure that it included a phrase that allowed the alternates to vote, but only in the absence of a full committee.
So moved.
Which is,
The whole
I mean,
point.
that would be normal, but
Yeah.
it doesn't really say.
I don't mind putting that sentence in, I think, you know.
Or we could just put it in the way it is and make the changes at the next, because I mean, I'm sure that, well, I'm never sure about anything these days. Let me backtrack.
planning board and the zoning board of appeals, you know, they bring up an alternate to sit when there's somebody missing. You know, and I can't imagine that any of our other committees, I know when I've sat in on ORC meetings in the past, the alternate participates if they're there in a discussion, but they don't vote unless, there's somebody missing.
I think that's generally understood, but I think it's something that we should probably draft for language when we start doing
Yeah.
more amendments as we,
And I'm good with that. I didn't mean to
Well, it's,
throw a monkey wrench into things,
No, it's
but
I think
interesting,
it's-
because I'm looking at the harbor committee bylaws, it just doesn't say anything about alternates.
well, that might not be the most latest. I already looked at them too.
Oh, we're not posting the, okay.
I don't know if that's the
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
most recent.
okay, alternates. Okay, I'm working in the language right here, which is meeting, but shall not.
Jeff, just in case you were wondering, the Perel and the disinfectant wipes are right in front of your microphone. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, you can notice that on live stream. Apparently, I've been using a bottle of Lysol wipes.
Yeah, just trying to
Just
break
need
it
your
up a little
name
bit.
tag there.
Yeah, thank you for not putting my name plate in front of that bottle of Lysol wipes.
Okay, here we go. Okay, what I was suggesting previously is the section 5, second paragraph. Members, comma, including alternates, comma, may participate in a meeting by electronic means but not vote or be considered part of the quorum unless physically present. Add a second sentence that says, alternates may participate in any meeting but shall not be included for quorum or voting purposes except in the absence of a regular member.
That sounds good.
And that gets to both your points.
Yeah, perfect. No,
Yep,
that's good.
that does
Okay.
it. I move, we amend,
And use this as the example for the
Yep.
others.
There we go.
Thank
You're
you.
gonna give me that, right? So
Yeah, I got it right here.
Yeah, second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Jeff?
thank you very much.
Aye.
All right. Okay, let me just do this for Bill. Parks. Okay, the next item on the agenda is to act on applications for Rockport Parks and Beautification, regular members and alternate members, and there's a whole process science that these guys have gone through in order to make sure that they can have a quorum during the summer and also off-season, et cetera. Is there anything that any of you want to add to that before we do the individual motions?
No.
You're okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'll just add that they were asked not to attend the meeting tonight, so.
Oh, yes, right. They were asked not to attend since we were asking the public not to attend. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 motions here. 3 of, well, you better just do the 4 as listed, because some are alternates, some are regulars, some are different terms, expiration.
All right, well, I move that the board appoint William Froelich to the Parks and Beautification Committee as a regular member for a term ending June 30th, 2023.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Deborah, I'd like to do the second one.
Okay,
I move the board appoint Sally Cook to the Parks and Beautification Committee as an alternate member for a term ending June 30th, 2023.
Second.
Second.
discussion? All in favor?
I move the board,
Jeff, wait a minute, Jeff, say aye.
Aye.
I move the board appoint Amy Jenner to the Parks and Beautification Committee as an alternate member for a term ending June 30th, 2023.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Jeff, do another one.
I move the board appoint Gretchen Leone to the Parks and Beautification Committee as an alternate member for a term ending June 30th, 2021.
Second.
Okay, discussion. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Whew. Yeah,
Never mind.
do you mind taking that to Bill? Before I forget. All right, the next item is act on approval of fiscal year 2021 municipal budget,
Which you already did with
which
your.
we already did, yeah,
But-
okay.
Did we include the number as, is there a different
That's where
number?
we would, yeah, no, I think,
You've made your recommendations,
okay, that's where we would have done it.
Okay.
and the budget committee will
Yeah.
make their recommendations tomorrow night, if we can get the phone to work.
Okay.
I'll be here, just because.
Okay, the next item is appointment of select board representative to the Midcoast Solid Waste Corporation Board. I had asked Denise if she would be willing to serve on that board. She would be an excellent, along with me, she would be an excellent addition to that board. She has a lot of knowledge and background in this area. And I move that let me ask one question before I do this. We have her down as June 30th, 2020,
This is-
because that's when we do all of but can we put her down for a longer period of time now?
Like
I don't want her to escape.
2030?
What do you think about that, Denise?
Well, Owen's term ended June 30th, 2020,
Yeah, I
so,
understood why you
I
did
think-
it.
yeah.
Deborah, I think
Yeah.
we need to, as you pointed out, we need to vote for everybody all.
Yeah, all at one time, so
30th.
we'll just have to twist her arm again. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
By then, you may want
How
to.
it goes.
So I move the board appoint Denise Munger to the Midcoast Solid Waste Corporation Board of Directors for a term ending June 30th, 2020.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, go ahead, vote for yourself.
It's not student council.
I promised her I'd try to keep her off the committee, so. Okay, next item is consideration of appointment of additional comprehensive plan committee. Okay, here is I was contacted by Richard Rumson, and Richard and I had a discussion about this, and I would like the board to consider adding an additional person to the comprehensive plan committee for this reason. Richard was he was not only on the 2004 comprehensive plan committee, but also importantly, he was on the group that did the work just prior to what the select board did. And as you know from that meeting, we kept referring back to that work, referring back to the spreadsheet. And I think it's really important not to lose that aspect of what that group did. So he would be very willing and happy to serve on that group if we considered appointing him.
So in the blank, Richard Remsen should go in, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's,
I move the board appoint Richard Remsen to the Comprehensive Plan Committee.
Second.
discussion, you look like you had.
Well, yeah, just a little historical perspective if people are listening at home. I was the liaison to the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee. Richard was on and involved with all that. And when that committee wrapped up, I was a little surprised that more of those committee members didn't want to be on the next committee, the Comprehensive Plan Committee, because I thought that their experience and expertise would be invaluable. So, just to say that I'm very happy that Richard is stepping forward and willing to fill that role, because I think it will be very helpful.
Yeah. Jeff, do you have any comment?
No, I'm good.
Okay. So we had a first and a second discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Doug?
Yes. Reading, no, it's from a constituent.
Oh, okay, all right. So, you guys will add him, and I'll also send him a note since I had discussion with him. Okay, the next item is act on Knox County Law Enforcement Mutual Aid Agreement. You wanna talk about that, Bill?
Sure, so we currently have mutual aid agreements with Camden, and Rockland already with law enforcement, and this doesn't supersede those or change those in any way. This just adds in, a mutual aid agreement with Camden, Thomaston, Rockport, Rockland, and the Knox County Sheriff as well. The thought behind this was to have an additional safeguard in place, so that if we need additional help from wherever it is, that it will be able to happen automatically and seamlessly, but protects each individual's communities. It lays out our responsibilities and their responsibilities should something happen, really in a response to this pandemic issue that's come up.
I'll wait until there's a motion in a second, because I do have a question or a comment.
I move the board approve the Knox County Law Enforcement Mutual Aid Agreement as presented.
Second. Now, my question is, Bill, are you familiar with the current one that's in place between Camden and Rockport?
Yes. I mean, I don't have it
Yeah,
on the
but
top of my head,
it
but,
spells out who's responsible for what if something gets broken, and
right.
is that something that we may want to have included in this to cover someone's broken whatever if they come to help us at our request? I mean, I thought it was pretty well written at the time, but,
Yep.
and maybe it's just as well that it just stays between Camden and us, because we are more often helping one another.
Yeah, I think this is appropriate for now, and certainly it's something that we can,
And the other part of that question is, isn't that due, or is that just an ongoing?
that's not, I did look at that, and it is ongoing. Yeah,
So
because that was the
there's no
first
dead-
question,
There's no dates set
Right.
certain, it just needs
Right.
to, okay,
and very much like this one, there's no end date
Yep.
per se.
thank you. All in favor?
All right, so, that was discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next item is the review, next item is a discussion item, and that is review of the landscape plan for the library site, and I think Doug's gonna walk us through that?
Yes, I will. Bruce, can you pull up, the one that looks similar to that?
That's somebody emailed some over, but I think that's the only one that I could get copied. Is that not it?
Nope, there should be one more.
No, I almost picked that up with my other hand and handed it to you.
That's what you know. Let me just work on this first. Let's see if I can minimize it.
That's it, if you can make it smaller, rotate it.
A very animated meeting at the Parks Committee with regards to this. It was sort of filling airspace because Doug's quiet.
Animated meeting.
Well, you know, no, it was good. It was good. Good meeting.
Okay, if you could rotate that.
I should have said earlier while we're waiting that we thank Owen for his years of service to the Midco Solid Waste. And, you know, we always prefer to have two select board people, and that's what, yeah. So, but we really appreciate, he's put a lot of time and effort into it. Okay.
Big shoes to fill.
Big shoes to fill, that's right.
Deborah, while we're waiting, I think we need to make sure we usually do a recognition and thank you card as well.
Yes,
I saw something down here.
to Owen. Yes, good point. So you got that, Bill?
Nope, that's not it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you know, bring it up. Can you move that at all, or is it not?
No, I need the other one. The one we had just up there.
Oh, that one, okay.
Not to be rude, but while you guys are doing this, future meetings, is there a budget meeting on the 24th then? Are they-
Tomorrow, yeah.
Tomorrow?
Yeah.
They're gonna meet, what, remotely, or
Combination
it's here.
thereof.
combination?
Combination, I'm hoping that we can get,
Deborah, I believe there are 2 people that will physically be at the meeting, certainly separated, and then everybody else is dialing in, was my last
If we can get the phone to work.
communication.
And we don't need to do the April 8th meeting now that we once had talked about, is that correct?
correct.
And, is the candidate nomination paper deadline still April 10th?
It is still April 10th,
Okay.
yes.
And the regular select board, the next one is supposed to be April 13th, and we're planning on still doing that, correct?
Yes.
And will we, at least at this point, plan to do it in this way where it's optional to be physically present or not unless things go further south and we all
Yes.
decide to do it remotely, which will have its own complications further than this one.
Yeah,
Right,
and,
if we can't have a way to conference call.
well, just so that you're aware, most likely we'll have Zoom set up and running at that point so that we can do a video meeting. So that it's a little short notice to try to get everything set up here in the,
Find a way to make, yeah,
in the
so it's
building.
not blue.
For Zoom.
So can you just,
So we can get Zoom.
while these guys are doing this, can you just talk about how the Zoom meeting would work?
yeah, so the Zoom
Well,
meeting, it's,
Before we get into, does someone know how to rotate any of this? I don't know how to do it in Mac and stuff.
I'm a Mac
I don't know how to
person.
rotate,
So you wanna?
but you can't,
Where at? Oh, off of, you mean off of that?
Well,
Off of the,
I'd like this side to be the top left corner, right?
can you just do it off the machine? You got the Mac machine there? Just do it off the Mac machine.
No, I don't know.
I can tell you how. I'm
That
not gonna.
controls, well, yeah, that keyboard controls this machine.
Oh, you can't do anything off of the pad here on the machine?
No, this is a different machine.
Oh, that's a different machine.
This is the Mac Mini, and that's,
So,
do that.
that's a different,
View or edit, either of those.
I think they were sent over as PDFs.
Oh, then you can't do anything.
so can't you just do it, can't you still, like a picture that you can rotate?
I guess, yeah. Does View help you?
I have to use my hand sanitizer, guys.
Are those arrows down there? What are those? Below the toolbar?
I mean, normally you would have like with the picture, you'd have the ability
Rotate
to-
clockwise, rotate counter. I can't see those arrows. Are they something?
Maybe we can work off of that.
Maybe somebody's trying to call in now.
That's right. You can have all the state-of-the-art equipment. you need.
Yeah.
In your packets, you have 5 pages here that constitute the final report from our landscape architect. So I think what we should do right now is let's approach this in the two parts. The first part will be, I'll do a brief presentation of the plan, which we'll have a couple of slides for up here. But then the second part is really going to have to be, where do we go from here? And that's going to include discussion with contractors and also thoughts about financing it and how this might be done in parts and pieces. So to begin with, and Bruce, I'm reluctant to ask, but can you bring up the first page, landscape bid set breakdown and expectations that were sent as part of the original packet?
Where'd the keyboard go?
Still over there.
Okay. So what this really does, this breaks the project down into its key parts here. And you'll see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 parts really. First part addresses pole lighting. The second part is landscape lighting. The third part is the plaza paving. The fourth part is the actual landscaping, the trees, shrubs, etc. The next area is the grassy areas. The next area is the retaining wall that needs to be built. The next part addresses benches that are on the diagram. The next part is some stone, and then Boulder and the Weidman Monument. So let's just sort of go over those real quickly here in the plan. See if I can pick it up here. This is kind of upside down for me. On your plans, if you look very carefully, you will see some little stars that represent the where the various light poles go. So you'll notice that. But let me start off by saying what is going to be done as part of the intersection and part of it will be paid for by the state and everything. So everything that you see here in yellow, this is all going to be part of the intersection or the actual library construction bid. So we really don't have to worry about any of this here at all. You'll notice that the entryway coming in off of Lime Rock Street here, Russell Avenue over here, you'll notice that this will be concrete up until the door right here, but right now we don't have anything in this area for paving or whatnot. So the way I broke this down was anything that you see as scribbled areas like this is all going to be compacted gravel, crushed stone of some sort. So this will be a gravel pathway. This is if we don't do any construction. This area out front will all be crushed gravel. This hillside will be crushed gravel, and this upper terrace would all be crushed gravel, okay? So that's a pretty big part of it there. The areas that have these slashes on it will be grass, okay? So this will, in the back of the building, these are the air conditioning units, the propane tank. This will all be grass in here. This will be grass on either side of the entryway. There'll be grass on 2 little islands on either side of the entryway. This area here, out near the intersection, will all be grass, as will this, and this. So the way I drew this out here, again, this is if we don't do any landscaping, okay?
Excuse me, just to clarify that, that's because the gravel and the grass are provided for in the FI contract, right?
That's how they have to leave the site.
Yep.
When they leave the site, this yellow will all be in place as concrete. This will be crushed gravel. That'll be grass. Okay. So what is our plan, though, eventually, so that this library will look beautiful and the way we'd actually intended it to? Bruce, can you go to the other slide now that doesn't have all my scribbling on it there, that looks like this slide?
You need the keyboard, right?
I need the keyboards and I'll give it a
Well-
try.
And you know, the answer to doing this, did you want the pointer?
Might as well, yeah, let me try from over
You know,
here.
the answer to this would have been to take a JPEG instead of PDF. And if it was a JPEG, then we would have the ability
Yeah, I just
to.
take it over to the symbol, so.
Yeah, we could have done a screenshot of
Try
it
this one right here,
and done a
Bruce.
JPEG. I just figured that one out. Okay.
Yeah. Now that, can that be rotated up here?
I don't know how to rotate
Well, click on this thing right here, maybe.
it.
It's great.
Okay.
Yep, and then can we center this and blow it up? No, wait a minute, that's the one I just had.
Yeah, that is. So
All right,
he
no.
did, well, he was able to get to the screen that I would have expected.
Yeah.
Okay. To rotate it. Okay.
Okay, well, let's go to the rest of the presentation, or the other one that Diane sent over.
Yeah, I think they just came over as PDFs attached all in the string, so I'm not
Okay.
sure how to.
Well, I'm finished with this now, so why don't we get rid of it?
So do you scroll up or scroll down? Do you get it?
Try and scroll it, I don't see it.
No, I think when the keyboard was handled, it made your original presentation disappear.
Is this the PDF over here though? Where's the PDF? The original PDF?
I think that's the agenda. So the original PDF, I mean, I could go to the email. It's somewhere on here, I'm gonna get closer, I can't see.
Show me
Yeah.
down here again.
Pop up.
This one right here. Let's go to this one for
Okay.
right now.
All right, good.
Okay, so to reorient everybody, this is now Lime Rock Street over here. This is the main entrance. Russell Avenue is here. Once again, the yellow represents all the concrete work that will be done by Phi when it's finished. So this is the plan that we have for the library. Two of the most prominent parts are these paved terraces out here that you see. This is where we would hope to be able to incorporate the donor bricks that were donated by the foundation. This will provide a nice entryway into this lower program space here. The next thing you'll notice too is that there's some benches that are on those two patio areas for people to sit at. I did talk about a retaining wall that needs to be built, and that would be this little area right on the corner. Just because this is so steep, for this to be successful in here, they need to be able to backfill it a little bit, so there'd have to be a bench built there. All the various plantings here were a collaboration between Keith Smith, the landscape architect, as well as Anna Remsen and Leanne Dunton. Anna, of course, runs Seasons Down East. She's very familiar with plants, and it was a great correlation, that collaboration that they did, because they recommended some alternate plants that I think will do well. Again, over here on the hillside, there's a variety of plants. There's a big key up here, which you can actually identify what each plant is. This little area right here, this oval, is going to be the butterfly garden that the library has always had. That's privately funded. There's a gal who supervises it, and so that's going to be the butterfly garden. And then there's another small garden here just off of this picture,
Which is where the Weidman Square,
which is where the Weidman Square Memorial is going to go. So this plan was approved by the Parks and Beautification Committee at their last meeting. or recommended to be sent to the select board for approval. So I guess the next step would be, we can approve it, but then we need to talk about, A, you know, who's gonna do it, and B, how are we gonna pay for it? So that's sort of where we're at.
A great deal of consideration, too, is given to the Young's property and the plantings, you know, to help give them some privacy. I think that might have been some of the changes.
That's over here.
Yep.
And as I understand it, Phi is is preparing a bid, a cost estimate of what it would take to do this work. Is that right?
Yes,
yeah.
Phi is working on preparing a cost estimate.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Assuming that there will be some donations of plants and things like, you know, of that nature as well.
Right, right. More for the terrace work,
Yes.
So,
Yeah,
I
that's
guess
fine.
for discussion purposes, I guess I would like to make a motion that the select board approve in concept this landscaping plan for the new library.
Second,
So,
for discussion
discussion,
purposes.
yeah, for discussion purposes. So, in your motion, you're not saying anything about the funding of it. You're just saying the concept.
Concept is the first step we need to address.
And one of the reasons, as I understood it, that we wanted Keith to do this and needed him to do it was to make sure if there were things that Phi needed to be doing while they're on site, to sort of build in, whether it's getting the
Like
grading done
grading,
correctly
yeah.
to match the recommended landscaping plan, lights, if we need to, I mean, the reason that the select board, as I recall, approved the $6,000 to have him put this together was because there could be things that Phi could do and needed to do, and we needed to know what they were before we were handed a site with contractor grass and crushed stone paths.
So that sort of segues into my comments about the plantings, particularly along the young side of things, because I think Charlie said that because of the size of the trees, that there would have to be some plantings before he was out of there. And I'm trying to remember,
Yeah, I don't recall.
I'm just saying, because he's gonna put he's gonna put soil, seed it, and grass will eventually come. But he didn't want to do that and then go back in and plant anything.
Rip
if
it
that-
up to put the trees in.
Right.
but-
And if someone prepares a bid, I mean, they potentially could do more damage than not, so it has to be pretty much sequentially done. One has to be done with the other, I would think. But if there's no money for it, then it would be pretty hard to do.
So, do we know?
Let me just address what
Yeah.
Denise said. Yeah, from a historical standpoint, what happened is that, you know, a building of this magnitude in town, visibility, you really need to have a professional landscape architect be involved in the outside of the building. Sure, you know, you could just plant grass everywhere and call it good, but again, the location of this building, you know, it's an icon there at the top of Central Street, and I think everybody in the end really would like to have this look very nice, and so for two reasons. So, number one, yes, you're right, you need to have someone look at the grades, the soils, the general layout that you have to work with, and that's what the landscape architect can do to set the grades and everything. But then also, you know, to lend an aesthetic input into the design of it. So that's what Keith's role was. So,
Yeah, and I don't disagree with any of that. It's just, I was sort of, even if we don't necessarily or can't find the money to do it to the nth degree of how he's designed it this year, there were still good reasons to get the plan prepared.
oh, yeah, yeah,
It's given
absolutely.
Phi, I'm assuming it gives Phi direction as to how to grade it out.
Yes, right, exactly. So, as FI does their final preparation of the site, no matter, what it's gonna be, at least if they have this to guide them,
Right.
there won't be a lot of work that they'll do that will then have to undone in the future. So, and that's good.
Well, some of that would be undone if the plantings are not yet in. You'll create more,
To your point earlier.
Yeah,
right, you'll
on those
create more
trees.
damage. If the ground has not settled or hardened or seasoned or whatever it's called, and then you go ahead and tramp across it with a piece of machinery, because if I remember correctly, I'll go back to the trees next to Young's, they're gonna be of such a size that you're not gonna be able to hand carry them over there. So you will disturb some of the ground that has been recently planted, if not allowed to season. Does that make,
That makes sense.
Right, but this, again, it gets into the whole financing. If there's no money, FI is gonna leave the site as I showed on that very first site. And yes, indeed, when a year from now, 2 years from now, when we go in to do the work, yes, we're gonna have to tear up a lot of that stuff. But, it's the nature of the beast.
so what you're saying is that there's no expectation that the plantings will be done until a year or two from now?
Well, if we don't have money, it won't
Okay,
be.
well, no, I'm just trying to
Yep.
see where you're coming from.
When you talk about lighting, and I just wanted to I'm trying to get a handle on what things are gonna have to be redone versus what things can be sort of prepped. So like when you're talking about landscaping lighting, in my experience, you can, for example, run the conduit for the landscaping lighting, but maybe not purchase the lights. I mean, depending on how expensive they are, they may not be expensive, but you cannot, but you can not purchase the lights and you can cap them off, for example, but have the conduit run because it'll be a lot more costly to rip things up and run the conduit later, kind of
A-
thing. So we're
absolutely.
talking about those kinds of things,
Absolutely.
right?
And I'll show you that here. But again, remember, even that conduit isn't part of FI's contract, so it's gonna cost us possibly a little something. So, lighting. You can see it much better here now. There's intended to be a pole lamp right here, right here, right here, and right here. And so obviously, as FI, towards the end of the project, starts to grade this all out, if we could somehow come up with the money to run underground conduit in the boxes that would be needed here, 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 and here,
Right.
And don't
it
forget,
would be easier.
don't forget the one at the corner of the parking, the lower corner of the parking where the sidewalk comes across, because we talked about,
Well, that's over in the Memorial Park.
true, but if you're putting conduit in, it still has to come,
Yeah,
and the other,
Before we pave Lime Rock.
right.
and the other lighting, which may not have anything to do with here, is in the upper corner where your yellow,
Up in here.
on the building, to light the access ramp. Remember how we talked, there was a,
Yeah, that's gonna be a construction
All right,
change
just
order, so, yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, so it would make sense to put the conduit in towards the end. I mean, how much of a change order would that be?
And that's on Charlie's list, right? So that, we're gonna get that number.
Oh, yeah, he'll
Yeah.
give us that number.
Yeah.
So so what Charlie is doing is he is breaking it down per task or whatever, so we could
He'll be
pick
breaking
and
it down
choose.
pretty much to what you see on this sheet here to accomplish.
And I would imagine, he should be giving us commentary about things like, well, bricks you can add later without, doing too much change, conduit, you'd have to tear all this stuff up. I mean, maybe some kind of prioritization of what should really be done now to avoid major changes later or going
Yeah, and I
backwards
think
later.
he'll do that when he has that information. I think it's gonna probably be about 3 weeks. Who knows with everything that's going on, but
I was gonna say, didn't we give them a timeline? Wasn't there a time
Yeah.
constraint? that-
Well, yeah, we gave them a time because of, select board dates and things like that.
Right,
but
because it
again,
has
that's
to
all
come-
kind of off,
It has to come before us to get the blessing.
yeah.
So I think I give them the April meeting date, and the Wednesday it would have to be into Diane before, whatever that deadline is. But yeah, there was some sort of a deadline for getting it back to us if they wanted it sooner rather than later.
And it'd be good to focus, on the stuff that we really should do, because it would be a lot more expensive in the future not to do it now. So like the conduit for the lighting, is that retaining wall up by the terrace? Something?
Yeah, that should be done early on, just because then
I
they
would
could
think because
backfill
of
behind
this.
it and the earth
Yeah.
could settle and get compacted, so.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly the conduit for the lights, this wall would be, important. How they prepare this surface here, how they leave it when they're finished, will also be important. Do you put in concrete as a placeholder for a couple $1,000s? That would still give you a fairly nice entryway to the building that could be easy snow removal, attractive. And then in the future, if we had enough money to put down nice pavers, they may be able to engineer it so you could just put your pavers right on top of the concrete.
Which, again, goes to another added cost, though, of putting the pavers in after the fact, right?
Unless you could put the pavers in on that upper terrace.
Yeah,
Because we have an issue where we have the donor bricks. At some point, those need to get, somebody's gonna have.
Yeah, you have how many?
143 bricks now.
143 bricks?
I think if you're gonna put in a nice patio, I would do it down here first.
Well-
Because again, that's gonna be a main entrance. It's a little bit larger than the children's terrace up here.
I thought,
Still,
I thought the idea was to put the bricks in and leave them in such a way that they could be, the ones that had not been yet purchased and unmarked could be removed, marked,
Yep.
put back in place.
Yep.
So
Well,
why
Billy
not,
even says they can be marked, they can be engraved on the spot. He's
so,
done that in a
so
prior
why not just
job.
put them in and, instead of putting concrete
Well,
and
yeah, but with what money?
well, you're gonna get,
well, and,
this is
well,
about
I'm-
1,000 bricks and we have 140, so.
well,
Yeah,
no, I
that's
mean,
why I'm
I'm,
wondering why the children's terrace would, because that could just go to crushed stone, and then the foundation, somebody else can figure out where to come up with money.
all
for
I
the
was
terrace.
alluding to is we could eliminate the cost for the concrete that isn't
Yeah,
in there either.
Right, right. Which I
know.
think is more than a couple of $1,000s.
But again, we'll get some pricing on
Yeah.
that.
Okay, well, there isn't, this is good. We understand, appreciate what's going on. I think we can take a vote on the concept, and then we obviously need more information in terms of, on the financial
Financing and who's
aspect of
gonna do
it.
it.
Right, and the prior, making sure we're not making short-term bad decisions.
Yeah,
If Charlie can guide us too as to what
yeah.
Right.
should get done now versus what we can wait on.
Again, really, what I'm asking for, an approval of the concept, almost a formality. I just want to make sure that people don't want to move this terrace up here, or this big garden into the back here.
Right.
Everybody's okay
Truly with the
with sort of
conceptual drawing.
the concept here, so
So-
that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, no, and the other night I thought of this because Charlie or Steve or somebody had spoken with regards to your pads out back, and the propane tank as depicted there may not be in the same place. It may be closer to the ramp for access, better access. But I was thinking, there in here somewhere, there's never been any mention about a future generator, perhaps. Because this building, this is down the road, but this building also could be used as a warming center if we needed one, and then we wouldn't have to rely quite so much on the one that we're paying a little bit for, which is neither here nor there, but.
But like you said, it's down the road, right?
Yeah, it would have to be.
Bill, do you have any comments or?
I think the concept is great to be able to have that approved, because then when we have the pricing back, and again, it comes down to having no money, but if there are things that can happen either through volunteer work or donations or whatnot as we continue on over the next few years, then at least you have the plan in place so that you're not just kind of willy-nilly planting things and putting things, and I think having the order of importance, if you will, of the landscape item things, that it makes sense to have that in place.
Jeff, do you have anything to add?
I don't. It's difficult from this end to get the full perspective.
Yeah.
But I'm okay.
Okay. Okay, so let's see, we need a motion.
You have a motion.
Got a motion in a second.
Did we? Oh
Yep.
my gosh, the
Me
the
and
concept,
Denise.
that's right, and then we did the discussion, okay. Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the table for approval of this plan and concept. So those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, there you go.
Thank you, that's a really nice.
Thanks, yeah, thanks Doug, that's helpful. Okay, so we already talked a little bit about future meetings while we were having our technology, issues. The budget committee will meet tomorrow in this sort of half and half kind of situation. The candidate nomination paper deadline is still April 10th, it's gonna remain there. April 13th, we're gonna have a regular board meeting, but we'll plan to be optional, like we just said, or if things go south, then we have to all do it, remotely, then we'll see. You were gonna tell us, though, and April 20th, oh, that's just a town office closing. Yeah, which doesn't seem like much at this point, yeah. You were gonna tell us about how Zoom will,
Yes,
help our
so,
situation?
I would say we'll most likely have Zoom as an option for the next select board meeting where you can log into the meeting and on a video conference call from your laptop or your home computer or whatnot. If you don't have the capability of a microphone or speakers or a camera, then you can always call into that meeting, very much like you do with this one. And so I'm working with Jeff Parker to try to get the technology set up here so that that would allow that to be broadcast, so that people could see the attendees. It's a
See
little
what?
bit,
See the board members?
see the board members that are virtually attending the meeting.
Yep.
I think it'll be a little bit better than this effort.
Yeah.
That's the hope there.
So if we have to
Deborah,
go, go ahead, Jeff.
Like many, many millions of people in the United States, I've been doing that type of meeting all week long. It literally takes seconds to set up, either Zoom or Slack or Google Meetings. And it works great. There's no time delay. Everybody sees everybody else. And the opportunity for others to see and watch it without being participants also works quite well.
And so you'd have, if there were five board members, you'd have 5 board members on a screen where we would see each other?
Yeah,
or
there are
how-
different ways that you can set it up.
And whoever's talking would be primary up front, and when somebody else talks, it switches over to them, and you can see everybody all the time anyway over on the side of the screen. It works great.
You can also share documents on the screen.
And would you have to be here, or would Bruce have to be here? Somebody has to be here because of the equipment?
Somebody has to be here because of the live
I think
stream.
that Bill will be able to get it set up so that you just send a link so that people can watch. Otherwise than that, the
Well, you
rest
could.
of us are live members.
Oh, so you wouldn't be doing, or would you be doing, the live stream ceases, or
I don't
and they
have-
do it through Zoom? You
I don't have all the answers
So we
yet.
don't know if the live stream is still live streamed or if Zoom is just, I mean, in any event, I can say that we'll still have to have the email capability for the public in terms of participation, because
Yes.
there's just no way to have a remote meeting with,
I mean-
100 people.
The worst case, Deborah, is that the camera for live stream points at the big screen up there, and it sees all of our faces participating in a Zoom meeting.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Yeah, so, yeah, more to come.
Yeah, so more to come, so we'll see, and more to come on this coronavirus, we'll see. Okay, so, is there anything else that anybody else has? Oh, and I should say, before we close, that, you know, Doug and Denise and I have met, and we can always do conference calls instead of a physical meeting on the agenda, and Diane, instead of, you know, in setting up the agenda, you know, tonight we had to meet because of the budget stuff, right? So, we wanted to keep that rolling. And so we threw in the things that, you know, were easy, kind of, you know, made sense to move along. And so when it comes to non-essential, I mean, obviously approving well, in the case of the parks, for them to continue to do their stuff, it was sort of essential. But, you know, I mean, the ORC bylaws were not essential in that sense, but we're here. And so moving some of that stuff along. But we are sensitive to the idea that we're gonna have meetings when we need to have meetings. And then when we do have meetings, we'll try to get done as much as we can, and that makes sense. As long as we're meeting anyway. We're not gonna call meetings for purposes of approving bylaws, you know, I mean.
Right.
But
Do
if
we
we're
have a
meeting anyway.
Dropbox for tax payments or something where people?
We do, actually, and so on the side door of the town office building, there's a mail slot, if you will,
Just drop them
that
off?
they can drop paperwork there, and that's where we've been instructing people either to mail them or to drop them in that Dropbox. And we've been doing business that way, but we have a bunch of forms that are out in the vestibule for building permits and the like, and people can take those, they can complete them and put them in that slot, and then we can process them that way. So yes, absolutely.
So we can get the word out to residents that they can pay their taxes by just dropping it off.
Yes, yep, and I think I have in the press releases that I've put out there, but we can certainly make that more known as well.
Okay, so if somebody wants to do a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
I'll second.
Oh, yeah, you would.
Discussion, all in favor? Okay, Jeff, say yes.
Aye.